The older and bigger aren't better than the younger and smaller. Again, no pictures of aborted babies here. This is actual photography. The one is 3D, sometimes called 4D ultrasound, and the other is in vitro photography, where they are able to take these teeny little cameras and get inside and see the development of the child. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. It's just remarkable. Just like the born child and the connection we should feel. That child is no more valuable now than that child was before he or she was born. Just because we parents or grandparents didn't see them yet, or know them yet, or even have a name for them yet, doesn't make them any more or less valuable in the sight of God. Babies inside the womb, created in God's image. These delightful babies that we see smiling outside the womb, well, they smile inside the womb as well. It's remarkable, the development scientifically. People of every tribe and nation and language that Jesus died for. And United States of America tax dollars paying to abort children like this family's children all over the world. You see the baby on the right? Does that kind of look like a smile on the face? Yeah. Won't be born for some time, but already smiling. This, I'll never forget seeing this sign for the first time in a restaurant in this great state of Oregon, which was the second or third state in the country to legalize abortion. Roe v. Wade was 1973. Abortion was legalized in Oregon in 1969, 4 years earlier. And yet, in the state of Oregon, every place that serves alcohol now must have this sign posted. Take a good look at that sign. Pregnancy and alcohol do not mix, can cause birth defects. We'll see the woman. Well, if you're close enough to see it, you see that it, and look at this when you're in a restaurant. Look at this baby inside the mom. Now, it's harmful to the baby for the mom to drink alcohol. How harmful do you think it is for an abortion? The same woman who is pregnant driving to an abortion clinic to have her child legally killed by a doctor, or her parents or her boyfriend are driving her to the clinic. If a drunk driver runs into that car and the baby dies, the adults live, but the baby dies, there's a miscarriage. The driver can be prosecuted for manslaughter. Why? Because of fetal homicide laws. Yet, if he doesn't run into her and kill her, or him, the unborn baby, and the appointment is kept at the abortion clinic, the doctor legally kills the same child. Not only is he not prosecuted for manslaughter, he's paid well for what he's done. That's the inconsistency with which we approach this issue. I want to really emphasize this picture. Again, not an aborted baby. This is on the back of my book, this picture, Why Pro-Life. And we got permission 10 years ago when this picture was in Life magazine. Some of you may remember it. But this baby had spina bifida and was operated on before the baby was born. They went inside, opened the mother's uterus, took the baby out. Sarah Marie Schweitzer was the baby's name. They performed this intricate surgery, and this is now often done. And after they close the baby up, and they've given the baby anesthesia, there's a reason for that, by the way, that the baby's given anesthesia. I'll let you figure that out. And then put the baby back in, and just before they closed up Mom, Sarah Marie Schweitzer reaches up and grabs the finger of the surgeon. And the photographer who took the picture, stunned, said he went in a heartbeat from being pro-choice to being pro-life when he saw this baby interacting in the world. Now, the baby's put back in the womb, and it would have been perfectly legal to kill that baby for the next couple of months until she was born. Well, I was thinking about this as I was putting the slides together earlier this week, and I thought, Sarah Marie Schweitzer, we got her parents' permission to put her picture on the back of the book. I wonder if I can find out anything about her today. And sure enough, I found Sarah Marie Schweitzer today. There she is. Now, do you understand that that same baby inside the womb, that it still would have been perfectly legal to kill when she was placed back in her mother's womb? Until the day she was born, she could have been killed. But that's her. That's Sarah Marie Schweitzer. And I wept when I saw these pictures because I thought, that's our little girl, Sarah Marie Schweitzer. And is there any question as to whether that baby, before that baby was born, was a human being and was this human being? There is no question. If you're doubting it, I encourage you to consider, what's the voice that's telling you that they're not the same? It's the voice of the evil one. It's not the voice of God.
Wow. I want to make one comment to all of us just before I ask Randy one more question. And that's, as we talk about this, often we do talk about it as a women's issue, and it's talked about kind of in the public forum as a women's issue. And I want to make sure that we acknowledge that this is an issue that the fathers are deeply impacted by as well. Speaking to a man in our body earlier this week who is decades past an abortion that he participated in and is still grieving over it and is still in pain over it. And he's found forgiveness and grace, but it still is painful for him. And I want to tell you about a couple things that he said to me that I know he wants to be shared here. The first thing was that he said, in our culture, men are not supposed to be bothered by this. And so when we are, we think that we're strange and we don't say anything and we don't speak up. And he wanted me to say, and I want to say, if you are a man who has an abortion in your past and you're struggling with the guilt and the difficulty of that, you're not alone.
Yes.
Please come out and seek out help and community about that. And the second thing that this man I know wants me to pass along is he said, the young men need to know. They need to know what this will do to them if they have an abortion. That's why I want to say, in particular, to the young men here, know that there is grace and forgiveness, but know that this will haunt you. Because when we take a life, that's something that God has made so foreign to us that we'll grieve it, we'll regret it. It'll be something that'll bring great grief and difficulty. So please, this is a woman's issue, this is a man's issue, this is a child's issue. And let's all come towards the light on this.
Yes.
And just one last question I want to ask to you, Randy, before we move on to Diane, is a statement that we might sometimes hear where somebody might say, I'm personally opposed to abortion, and I personally would never have an abortion, but I'm pro-choice.
Right. That's one of the most common positions I've heard people in this church, honestly, in conversation, say the same thing. You'll hear it a lot from politicians. A lot of people think that this is kind of an in-between measure. I kind of want to show that, I don't feel really good about abortion, but I'm pro-choice about it because after all, it's a woman's own body and she has the right to do with it whatever she wishes. A couple of questions I would ask is, one, are you pro-choice about rape? Oh, I personally would not rape a woman, you understand. But I'm pro-choice about rape. Well, now, I personally would not abuse a child. Okay. But hey, you know what? If somebody wants to take their hand, which is part of their body, and slap a child around, who am I to question that? After all, it's their body and they can do what they want to with it. Well, when we realize that to be pro-choice about child abuse would be to favor child abuse, to be pro-choice about wife battering would be to essentially favor wife battering because you're not going to do anything to oppose it and you don't think laws should oppose it. I mean, I've said to groups before, well, I just want to make perfectly clear that I'm pro-choice and I get applause early on. That's my strategy. I say things like, I think you have a right to do whatever you want to do with your body and it's nobody else's business and certainly not these religious fanatics who are trying to tell you what to do. So always in a secular environment, I always get applause on that one. And then after that, that's why I defend a man's right to rape a woman if that's what he chooses to do. After all, it's his body and I am not going to be a religious fanatic that steps in and says he doesn't have a right to do whatever he wants to with his own body. Well, what's wrong with that logic? We're forgetting the person that he's hurting, the innocent